Patrick Mahomes is going to play Josh Allen for the ninth time in their careers. Technically, they're playing each other's teams, but you get the idea. This should be very fun, and I figured, well, there's been 8 times they've played prior to this. Why not just go through each of the games, talk about what happened, because there's actually been kind of a lot of iconic games between these two guys, not just the postseason games, and then talk about, I don't know if it means anything. I think it just could be fun, but yeah, let's get into it and talk about the history of Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes heading into what could be one of the biggest games in this rivalry. The first time these two guys played each other was in 2020. Week 6 was their first matchup. You see, the Bills lost 17-26. Mahomes' numbers were definitely better than Allen's numbers. Allen did not have a great statistical day. If you remember, this was the first year of good Josh Allen. His first 2 years, he was kind of figuring it out. Never happened to play the Chiefs in either of those years. But then here, they finally, he's kind of finally figures it out, has this great start, but was still early on in that season. Maybe they hadn't fully figured out good Josh Allen yet. I will say, this still was a competitive game. Patrick Mahomes made this play with 4.5 minutes left on a 3rd and 12, up 6 to get them into field goal range, which kind of allowed them to then kick the game clinching field goal. Had he not made that, the Bills would have had a chance. So even back then, things were competitive, but of course, this is baby steps here. Later on that year, it would start to become a trend, or this is the beginning of the trend, where they play each other twice a season, which is what's happened this year as well. But in 2020, in the conference championship game, this is the only time Josh Allen has played in a conference championship game, the results did not go Josh Allen's way. 24-38 Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes went off in this game, 325 yards on just 38 attempts, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Allen wasn't horrible, but again, not his best statistical day. Again, I think Allen has improved a lot as a player since this point, even if he was still very good that year. Patrick Mahomes was kind of already in his prime, which has basically been his whole career. Although one thing I forgot, the Bills actually did lead this game 9-0. They missed the extra point. It might feel a little bit weird because this is the COVID year, so less people in the crowd here. But you see, Mahomes just made so many plays after going down. Mahomes was great in this game. Allen honestly wasn't horrible here, but just Mahomes was on another level, even with a injured offensive lineman in this game, and actually their other tackle went down in this game. Of course, that led to their loss in 2020, which actually kind of leads us to our next game. So week 5, 2021, you see the Bills crushed the Chiefs, 38-20. I think if you ask many people, have the Bills ever beaten the Chiefs by more than 17? Most people would say no, but they have. You see Mahomes' numbers were horrible in this game, and Josh Allen was the guy who went off of over 10 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Remember, this was the era of the Tyreek Hill Chiefs where they were so deadly at winning down the field that Todd Bowles finally said, you know what, let's just play cover 2 every snap. Like, there's always going to be 2 safeties deep every snap, and the Chiefs really struggled in the beginning of the year, and even ultimately at the end of the year when they played Cincinnati, at being able to beat this coverage. They started the year 2-3. You see Mahomes, this is when people had the thing of like, oh, Mahomes' turnovers are regressing to the mean because he kept turning the ball over. Allen, like I said, was fantastic in this game. So, even if Mahomes was great, I don't know if they would have won, but we'll never know because he wasn't great in this game. But again, it was also kind of the situation. Later on that year, though, the Chiefs did start to find something, and they would play the Bills in what is still considered one of the greatest playoff games of all time. You see the numbers. Those don't even do it justice, though. Each guy with over 300 yards, they combined for 7 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. The final score was 42-36 in overtime. Of course, Josh Allen on this 4th and 13 had this play to give them the lead in the final 2 minutes, but then Tyreek Hill ran through the defense to give the Chiefs the lead with a minute left. The Bills would then retake the lead with 13 seconds left, and then everything was cool and nothing went wrong at all for the Buffalo Bills. The next year, the Bills were able to continue this winning streak in the regular season for against the Kansas City Chiefs. You see the numbers again. Both quarterbacks mostly good on a snap-by-snap basis, but the clear thing is the 2 interceptions by Mahomes. The Bills won this one 24-20. You see on this one, Allen with a minute left took the lead for the Buffalo Bills, and while usually that's not enough, only taking the lead with a minute left, here Mahomes was not able to get it done at the end, throws the game-losing interception, and the Buffalo Bills were able to ultimately hang on and win that one. So yeah, that was another regular season win for them. The next time they played was also in the regular season. They did not meet up in the postseason that time because the Bills lost to the Bengals, who then lost to the Chiefs, who went on to win the Super Bowl that year. This year, you have, again, a Bills win in the regular season, another kind of classic game between them. Neither numbers were that great, and to be honest, this was not the offensive explosion we usually see from these two teams. It's also interesting because usually they play each other like week 5 or 6. I don't know why, but that just seems to be always the time they play each other. This year, they played each other week 14. And to pick it up right here, it was a 17-17 game with 8 minutes left, and both defenses were holding. You have that sack there on 3rd and 27. Then on 3rd and 7, with 7 minutes left, Mahomes isn't able to make this play. Finally, the Bills were able to get a go-ahead field goal with 2 minutes left, but you're thinking that's not going to work. And Travis Kelce made this great play to Kadarius Toney that very famously got called back due to Kadarius Toney being offsides. The Chiefs were not able to convert the 4th and 15 a couple plays later, and of course, this game most notable for that play where Kelce flips it to Kadarius Toney late in the play. They get the touchdown. Kadarius Toney lined up offsides. Patrick Mahomes let's just be honest, was a bit of a crybaby after the game. He had a bit of a meltdown after this loss. Did not like the call, and I think famously when he went up to shake Josh Allen's hand, instead of saying good game, he just complained about the call to Josh Allen, who was kind of like, I'm not mad at the call. I'm happy we won. So that was it. And again, if you saw the records, the Bills were 6-6 heading into that game. The Chiefs were 8-4. The Chiefs fell to 8-5, and that wouldn't even be their last loss of the game. Or of the season, excuse me. You're thinking, if you're a Chiefs fan, is this it? Have we kind of hit our peak? Are we taking a step back? And then, of course, the playoffs happened. This playoff game in the divisional round, and listen, there's a lot of things we can talk about with this game. Both offenses were awesome in this game. I know that Allen's numbers are not very impressive, of kind of like around 5 yards per attempt, just 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Don't let that fool you. He was really good, and he had some great plays here, as did Mahomes. Both of these guys were operating at such a high level and were so efficient in this game. There wasn't a lot of possessions, which is why there's a bit of a lower score. No one talks about that. Here's what everyone talks about. The Bills had a chance to tie the game under 2 minutes and missed the field goal. Now, would have been 1:43 seconds left in a tie game with the Chiefs having the ball. You assume Kansas City wins, right? Hey, who knows? Maybe they score and then the Bills score again and you go to overtime. I don't know. But you're assuming that the Chiefs would be able to get in field goal range and kill the clock and win even regardless, especially with the way those offenses were playing in that game. But you would have loved to have that opportunity. So that's the most recent time these two teams played in the playoffs. They did play again earlier this year, though. Once again, the Bills won in the regular season. So again, if you're a Chiefs fan who's concerned about, well, they beat us earlier this year, it's worth mentioning the Bills have beaten the Chiefs 4 straight seasons in the regular season. That's kind of crazy to think about. You see earlier this year, Mahomes' numbers, not spectacular. The Chiefs end up losing by 9. Allen's numbers are good, not great, but really the play that we all talk about. This one, on a 4th down and 2, he runs through the Chiefs defense, gets a touchdown that put them up 9 points. They were up just 2 points. That was kind of the play of the game, and kind of, I think, maybe shows a different mindset for Buffalo. Hey, we're not going to settle for field goals and hope our defense can hold. We're going to try and make sure that we win this thing on offense. We don't let Mahomes have a chance here. So these are some final statistics from the 8 times they've played each other. An even record, 4-4, although, of course, 4 of those wins for the Bills are regular season. Only 1 win is regular season for the Chiefs, and that was back in 2020, the first time they played each other. You see some interestingly close statistics, though. The Bills score on average 26.6 points. The Chiefs 26.4 points, and their passer rating is nearly identical. Technically, Mahomes is slightly ahead, but they both round to 97.3. So shockingly similar numbers here in this situation. I mean, it's pretty crazy there, although obviously for Bills fans, they couldn't care less about beating Mahomes in the regular season. That's not true. I'm sure they like to, but they want to beat him in the postseason. And in the playoffs, you do see a bit of a disparity, both with the win totals. The Chiefs are 3-0, and the numbers here. I mean, Josh Allen's passer rating is nearly 100. That's a really good passer rating for playoff football, largely against Steve Spagnuolo's defense. I believe entirely against Steve Spagnuolo's defense, actually, because Steve Spagnuolo got there in 2020. So those are good numbers. Mahomes' numbers are otherworldly, 118.7 passer rating. And I will say, Allen, one of those games, the most recent game, he was much better than his numbers would show. So they've both been really good in the postseason. There's no denying that. And I expect them to both be really good on Sunday. Who will win? I don't know. But I think if history says anything, it's probably going to be a game that comes down to the wire. Only one of these games hasn't been a one-score game in the final, half of the fourth quarter. So should be pretty fun. But yeah, those are my thoughts on all this. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.